Folks who are really into guns and those who believe they know all about firearms have been saying that Jeff Cooper's scout rifle idea is old news. A lot of them believe the AR-15 and AR-10, with all their variations and chamberings, are a much better fit for what Jeff Cooper was trying to solve with his one-rifle-fits-all approach. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense. The AR, with its endless models and ammo options, nails the job as the go-to rifle for any red-blooded American, but it's not that Cooper got it wrong. It's more about what folks want from a rifle these days, and how it doesn't line up with why Cooper came up with his scout rifle concept in the first place. In this video, we'll talk about whether or not this scout rifle is now obsolete. But before getting into the nitty-gritty of things, we all have to understand first what a scout rifle is and what it isn't. The scout rifle is a very specific type of rifle designed to handle pretty much anything a rifleman might need. It's not just any old rifle with a scope slapped on the front, which unfortunately is where a lot of the confusion comes from. While Cooper did think having the scope up front helped with quickly spotting targets, carrying it around easily, and getting to your backup sights in a snap, that alone doesn't make any bolt gun a scout rifle. What the hell is a scout rifle? So here's what Cooper meant by a scout rifle. It's got to be a lightweight bolt gun, tipping the scales at no more than 6.6 pounds, scope and sling included. Should be pretty compact, not stretching over a meter long, rocking a 19-inch barrel, and it's got to be chambered in .308. He was also all about adding some ghost ring sights for backup, a low-power scope mounted up front for quick aiming, and the whole setup needed to be super user-friendly. Easy to lug around, fast for aiming, and dialed in for sharp shooting from any kind of on-the-go shooting stance. Cooper was convinced the best do-it-all rifle should work wonders no matter where on the planet you find yourself. It ought to be the go-to hunting weapon for nearly all game out there and double as a survival tool for those Lone Ranger moments out in the wild. But he was clear it wasn't meant for full-blown combat or scenarios where you're swamped with targets. The hitch we're facing now is nobody is really looking for a jack-of-all-trades rifle like Cooper's scout rifle anymore. What we're after these days are more purpose-built pieces that can come in real handy for defending your home in case of intense moments like riots, but also versatile enough for hunting in a pinch. Turns out, the AR might just be the top pick for that kind of work. AR versus scout rifle. Imagine two riflemen. One's kicking it in West Virginia. For him, rocking an AR-15 chambered in .223 Remington 5.56 would be just peachy. It's perfect for personal defense. There's not a single creature in West Virginia it couldn't take down. Then there's our Alaska guy, out there with those massive, angry grizzlies. The same AR-15 just doesn't cut it. A .223 5.56 isn't going to be your best bet against a grizzly, and truth be told, the scout rifle isn't up for it either. If it were me, I'd lean towards an AR-15 with a 50 Beowulf upper, but that could be expensive. So I would tell the guy to just snag a basic AR-10 from Palmetto State Armory, like the PA-10 Gen 3. But I digress. With AR-15s and AR-10s becoming the hot ticket, Cooper's scout rifle might not be hitting the mark these days. Sure, he wasn't trying to design a one-size-fits-all rifle, or pick everyone's favorite caliber, or even tailor it for every unique situation we might dream up. But what we need can be worlds apart from what he was aiming at with his scout rifle concept back in the day. It's not a mistake or off track, it's just how it is these days because of the AR-15s and AR-10s. Now let's get to the nitty-gritty and really break it down by point. Action and accuracy. Cooper's idea of the Scout rifle was all about sticking to a .308 bolt action. Fast forward to now, and finding semi-auto .308s that don't cost an arm and a leg is still pretty much a unicorn hunt. Plus, when you boil it down, a bolt-action rifle beats out in simplicity and keeping it running smoothly. Not that bolt actions are the be-all and end-all, but when you're looking for a do-it-all firearm, there's something to be said for sticking to the basics. So on the bolt-action front, Cooper's Scout rifle hasn't lost its edge. Now, about hitting the mark. Cooper was all about the 2 MOA accuracy since back in the 70s, that was the gold standard for hunting rifles. Today, getting a rifle that's dead-on accurate isn't a big deal. A bunch of production rifles right off the shelf like the Winchester Model 70, Savage Model 10, Weatherby Vanguard, and Remington Model 700 are capable of 1 MOA. Plus, shooting straight isn't just about the gun. Using match-grade ammo can make a huge difference, assuming you've got the skills and your rifle's in good shape. Caliber, dimensions, and weight. So for Cooper, a good all-round caliber for his Scout rifle concept is the .308. Personally, I think other rifle calibers like the 7mm08 and 6.5 Creedmoor might just work better. Yeah, I know, that might raise some eyebrows because the biggest thing the .308 has going for it is its popularity. It's available everywhere. But if the only reason you don't like the 7.5 Creedmoor or the 7mm08 is because of ammo availability, maybe you should start reloading your own ammo. On the topic of keeping things light, the rule of thumb is the lighter, the better. Nowadays, there's no shortage of featherweight rifles out there, so this isn't the issue it once was in Cooper's era. And about Cooper's overall length rule, under 39 inches is still solid advice for anyone who plans to actually use the rifle. But finding a modern rifle that fits or even undercuts this length isn't the challenge it used to be. This means the Scout rifle's specified short length doesn't really stand out anymore. Scout scopes and bipods. Nowadays, you can snag that same level of situational awareness and the convenience of a low-powered scope with a modern 1.4 scope that throws in a red dot and zoom for those shots that are either farther out or don't need to be rushed. And you get all this for the same weight and cost as the old-school Scout scopes. So when it comes to Scout scopes, they've kind of hit their expiration date. Talking about bipods, I'm of the mind that they're a cool addition, but not exactly a must-have for hunting. Sure, they can make shooting from a stable position a breeze, but then there's the extra weight up front that could throw off your game if you're shooting without support. Learning to shoot accurately using a rifle sling or whatever's handy for extra stability is something anyone can do. And speaking of rifle slings, we'll talk about that in a sec. The only time I see a bipod really coming in handy is if you're the type to hunt from a stationary spot like a table or the hood of your truck. Or if you find yourself in situations where lying down to take a shot is the norm and you need that extra stability for tricky shots. Other than that, sticking a bipod on your rifle is kind of like packing a rangefinder for shots under 100 yards.
BRM models
basically,
offer bench rest
it's just
and have an
extra stuff to lug
adjustment range
around.
of 6.
So, when you're talking bipods and Cooper Scout rifles, they're not really in the game anymore. Ching slings for stable shots. Before we talk about ching slings, let's talk about shooting slings first. The whole idea behind a shooting sling is it steadies your whole gun setup. Think of it as a cozy partnership between the ground, you, the sling, and your rifle. The trick is to let your bones do the heavy lifting instead of your muscles. A quick fix like the hasty sling where you just loop your arm through the rifle strap adds a bit of tightness but doesn't come close to locking your frame to the rifle so you can chill your muscles without your aim drifting. There's a crew out there that gets the old school military loop sling and how solid it locks everything in place. It's legit, but man, it's not quick, even with those snazzy competition cuffs. What you really want is a sling that's easy to carry and quick to snap into shooting mode. Cooper stumbled onto this speed sling concept thanks to his buddy Carlos Winman down in Guatemala in the 80s. The downside? Switching between carrying it and ready-to-shoot mode was a bit of a pain. That's where Eric Ching came into play with his brainchild, the Ching sling. This genius piece of gear merges the snap-into-place, sturdy lockup from Winman's idea with the ease of a regular carrying strap. The thing works wonders, and Cooper was all about making sure it was part of the Scout setup. A Scout rifle is meant to be versatile, good for close quarters or way out shots, and the Ching sling is there to lend a steady hand, giving you that loop sling solid feel as you're getting positioned. Just like the slings the military uses, the Ching sling boosts your rifle's stability by pulling it tight against your supporting arm. But setting it apart from the heavier military gear, the Ching sling's crafted from this lightweight nylon that won't get ruined by water or mold. Comes in these stealthy colors and you can slip in and out of it super quick. When it comes to shooting with precision, a lot of folks will lay down with a bipod, but sometimes you're dealing with obstacles or angles that just don't let you go prone. This is where you'll find it even more in hunting, out in the open where you might need to kneel, squat, or sit to stay stable, but still see over the brush and boulders. Plus, you can still use it as a regular sling, which means it's still pretty useful to this day. So, is the Scout rifle obsolete now? I'd lean towards saying the Scout rifle's idea is a bit old school, but not obsolete. The real gem from the concept is the way it's all about treating your gun as a system, picturing how you want it to work and aligning every part of it toward that goal. No single setup is going to be the magic bullet for everyone. But if you were aiming to build a rifle today that does what Cooper had in mind, something for the guy who's on his feet a lot and shoots every now and then but needs those few shots to count, you'd be hard-pressed to find something better than a Tikka T3X compact in 7mm 08. Paired with a Vortex or Leupold 14x24 red dot and a VTAC or another slick 2-point sling, it's up there as one of the most practical hunting rifles you can get. However, the Scout rifle still holds its own in certain scenarios, like if your hunting adventures take you riding through the countryside on horseback or trekking through the mountains. But that's pretty much it. The Scout rifle's a jack of all trades. It's okay at a bunch of stuff, but doesn't knock it out of the park in any specific area. When it comes to urban defense, it's just not cutting it because AR-style rifles are kings these days. And for long-range hunting or precision target shooting, forget about it. It can't touch modern precision rifles.